Judy Giuliani, can I get a shofar request or can I get a shofar for my millennial president? This is perfect. Boric, who defeated the far right by 11% with record voter turnout. He defeated my preferred candidate in the primary, Jude from the CP, but it's hard not to be hopeful for the future of Chileans with a young president at such a crucial moment. You can just give the shofar now. Perfect. All right. Well, I asked Matt earlier in the show if he could help me out with some of the stuff in Chile, some of the facts. But I mean, really, what we know now is that this is the biggest win for the left in Chile since the 1973 coup that was funded by the CIA in the United States. Basically resulted in a nearly 20-year dictatorship in Chile. And now the left is making gains.
Yeah, so we need to do a little bit of myth busting. I don't remember those guys' names, but myth that socialism doesn't work anywhere. And the actual historicization is that the United States will economically sabotage and even militarily engage with any country that tries to set the example of functioning socialist government. So we have a couple of bits of media here. This is my, let me just adjust my armrests here. We got a couple of bits of media. The first one is from 1972, so a couple of years after Allende was elected in 1970. But it shows the Nixon administration and what they were willing to do before Allende actually won in the run-up to this election to make sure the Marxists running under a popular unity ticket, basically with a broad range of socialists and Marxists and communists, couldn't win this election. So here's this Nixon tape, Bradley, if you would.
Yes, sir. Have you said anything, Ron, with regard to the ITT in Chile? How did you handle the State Department dealt with that today.
Sorry, Bradley. So ITT in International Telegraph, Trade and Telegraph, I'm not sure what it's an international telegraph company. And it had the second largest outside holdings of any sort of industry besides the copper industries, which also Allende wanted to nationalize. So ITT, very afraid. And if you think of like the way Verizon and like Snowden revealed these communications companies reveal stuff, they are kind of parts of the state and they're willing to work with the capitalists. So ITT, a big part of the deep corporate state organizing against Allende. So anyway, continue, Bradley.
Yeah. Yes, sir. Have you said anything, Ron, with regard to the ITT in Chile? How did you handle the State Department dealt with that today. Oh, they did? Yes, sir. What did they do? Deny it? They denied it, but they were cautious on how they dealt with the Corey statement because they were afraid that might backfire. Why? What did Corey say? Well, Corey said that he had received instructions to do anything short of a Dominican type, alleged to have said that. Corey did? Right. So how'd that get out? He put that out? Well, Anderson received that from some source. Al Haig is sitting with me now. Oh, yeah. It was a report contained in an IT&T thing, but... Well, he was instructed to. Well, but... I hope that, but he just failed. Son of a bitch, that's his main problem. He should have kept Allende from getting in. Well, in any event, State has denied it today, and they referred to your...
That's a fascinating clip because it shows how you deal with, like, this is Jen Psaki's job now.
Yeah.
How do you deal with this sort of, like, actual our nefarious deeds coming true, or coming out, and us dealing with, well, it would have been nice if we could have stopped it.
Right,
that's what we wanted to do. So I got this another clip, which is shortly after Allende won that election. And if you can put this up, it's a little snippet from a memorandum from the director of Central Intelligence, Dick Helms. And Kissinger's also on here too. So the president opens the meeting asking Helms to brief. Helms read from a briefing paper, which is attached to tab A. The president interrupted the review, to review what Helms had said about the makeup of the Allende cabinet. He wished to emphasize the degree to which the cabinet ministers were controlled by Marxists. The president then asked Dr. Kissinger to brief. Dr. Kissinger said, all the agencies agreed that Allende will try to create a socialist state. As for our response to this, the SIG came up with 4 options, but really basically it amounts to 2 choices. Seek a modus vivendi with the Allende government or adopt a posture of overt and frank hostility. In between it is a third possibility, adopt what is in fact a hostile posture, but from but not from an overt stance. This is that is to move in hostility from a low-key posture. That's, in fact, that third one is the one they actually did. Here's just a little bit more reaction. So Nixon had said, this is from the same meeting, the election of Allende as president of Chile poses for us one of the most serious challenges ever faced in this hemisphere. This is Kissinger wrote in the memo to Nixon 2 days after Allende's inauguration. If there's any way to unseat Allende, better do it. Then CIA Director Richard Helms quoted Nixon as saying in handwritten notes of a November 6, 1970 top-level meeting when the decision was reached, I feel strongly this line is important regarding its effect on the people of the world. Nixon said that if Allende can prove he can set up a Marxist anti-American policy, others will do the same thing. 3 days later, Kissinger announced to others that the president had decided that the public posture of the United States will be correct but cool to avoid giving Allende government a basis on which to rally domestic and international support for the consolidation of the regime. Because, and they had, like, Cuba happened, right? Like, you realize this overt hostility is kind of moving people away. So we're going to try to be a little bit more sophisticated about it, which is kind of what we do now.
We're gonna basically not act as aggressive as we privately are positioning ourselves.
Exactly.
Yeah.
So the United States will seek to maximize pressure on the Allende government to prevent its consolidation and limit its ability to implement policies contrary to the U.S. and to hemisphere interests. So kind of like what Mitch McConnell did to Barack Obama. No, I'm just joking. But that same posture, like we're going to let's make everyday Democrats be able to understand this. Imagine if Mitch McConnell said that after Obama won. That's
right.
Chilean destabilization included banning future economic aid to Chile, sanctions, and having international financial institutions wind up current loans there and blocking further ones. If authorized, yanking export credits to Chile, which that nation then used to buy goods. So that is, it is clearly this ideological, we can't allow this model to work. It's not that it couldn't work. It's that what Nixon and Kissinger stands for, and I mean the current, I think, U.S. government is threatened by a more social as opposed to profit-seeking approach to governance. And God bless Chile for finally. I mean, we should just say briefly. After the coup, Pinochet gets in power, a whole bunch of Chicago economists come down and say, hey, you should do all this stuff that protects property, like need supermajorities in both houses of Congress to pass any sort of legislation.
Right. And that's why Boric is trying to overhaul the constitution in Chile. And that was the platform that he ran on, and he won by an 11-point margin on that platform. Exactly.
And the previous president had been kind of open to that, too. There's been a lot of unrest in Chile. There's metro strikes in 2019 and all this stuff leading to this tremendous outcome yesterday. So it is exciting. And the phrase that's going around in Chile is like, this is where neoliberalism got its start, and this is where it will find its end. And
that's awesome. I mean, you read the New York Times article on this, and they're really honing in on Boric's age, 35 years old, youngest president ever in Chile. Which, cool, that is awesome. And don't worry, he's tattooed. That also gives us a really interesting wrinkle to the story. But the actual narrative is the one that you are talking about there, is that after decades and decades of CIA and United States bloody interference in order to stop the spread of leftism in areas that United States capital had a significant investment in, there is a movement throughout South America, and we are seeing this. We saw it in Bolivia. We're seeing it here in Chile, that needs to be taken seriously and is incredibly exciting.
Yeah, and I wonder why in like Latin American countries there might not be a whole bunch of socialist leadership from like the generations prior to us. It's because of this exact same dynamic, right? Like death squads and CIA infiltration, and just, I mean, not to mention just the COINTEL infiltration of any leftist party anywhere. All these places have a whole bunch of they deserve our support.
Yeah, and hold on, I have one more point before you go. Like the entire, I mean, and I hate turning to a media critique, but like my literacy in this is I'm still learning myself. Like, but as I learn and you read the way that the media covers these things, they'll talk about the coup as a passive, a passive moment in history that basically was organic, and they completely downplay the United States involvement in this.
Yeah.
And they also treat the overthrow of the left and the America, and we are seeing this. We saw it in Bolivia. We're seeing it here in Chile. That needs to be taken seriously and is incredibly exciting.
Yeah, and I wonder why in like Latin American countries there might not be a whole bunch of socialist leadership from like the generations prior to us. It's because of this exact same dynamic, right? Like death squads and CIA infiltration, and just, I mean, not to mention just the COINTEL infiltration of any leftist party anywhere. All these places have a whole bunch of they deserve our support.
Yeah, and hold on, I have one more point before you go. Like the entire, I mean, and I hate turning to a media critique, but like my literacy in this is I'm still learning myself. Like, but as I learn and you read the way that the media covers these things, they'll talk about the coup as a passive, like a passive moment in history that basically was organic, and they completely downplay the United States involvement in this.
Yeah.
And they also treat the overthrow of the left and the infiltration of the left, when looking at it historically, with like a bar of evidence that is so high that it's almost impossible to clear. So everything that you laid out before about all the things that Nixon and Kissinger were documented saying, that is obvious that they authorize the use of covert action in Chile to help overthrow the government. But because there isn't like a video of a handshake of it happening, then a lot of the way that it's covered is, oh, well, I mean, like, this is just conspiratorial thought, when it is so obvious to anybody with any semblance of critical thinking that this is how it went down. And we have hundreds of historical examples of the way that the United States operated.
Well, it's like, that thing where Democrats get up in arms when doing focus groups, because it's like, we keep telling these people that this is what the Republicans want, and they don't believe that they actually do. The same thing is true about American history and our foreign policy, right? You can tell people, and they think like, okay, I kind of buy that. Like, I think there's a general acceptance of this, but when you get too detailed for people, they think like, whoa, you must be kind of getting out there.
You're kind of weird.
Yeah, and I mean, just to put the context of, us supporting that coup, and this sort of general, our feelings about Latin American countries, like you might think, oh, they probably had a whole bunch of coups and difficult governance before that. 120 years of Republican democratic governance before we decided to put 17 years of Pinochet in there to basically shore up the property classes, privatize education and all that, health and all that stuff, and really let people get some of those dollars for the top 1% of folks, and that's all that we had to show for it. I mean, not that it would have been worthwhile, right? But just to say, like, we came in and toppled a democratically elected Marxist. Talk about Dems, democratically elected Marxist, and that ended 120 years of, as far as I can understand. Maybe I'm wrong, but what do they call it when transmission of power or passing of power? Transfer. Transfer of power. Peaceful transfer of power. Everyone's fetishizing during Trump, and yet we get rid of 120 years of that and give Pinochet and Chicago school economists.
It's almost like there's a consistency when Biden is holding a democracy summit and he has Juan Guaido speak at the pro-democracy summit. It's almost like the concept of democracy is quite fluid based on the ideological nature of the people in power and their relationship with the United States' production of capital and consumption.
Democracy Incorporated, baby.